Hey guys, this is Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work, and you're listening to my For Sale by Owner Master series. It's free on YouTube and it's free in my group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work. And guys, one thing I want to tell you about it, and I think this is where some agents miss things, is they don't really have a pricing strategy. And everybody talks about, oh, do a CMA, do this, do that. This is how you got to price property. The truth is, I think most agents, the reason why they just can't figure it out sometimes and don't get listings, they have no pricing strategy. They look around on MLS a little bit and they say, hey, I think it's worth $100,000, but they really don't have any way to relay that to a seller, or they get personal with their opinion of value, and they're going, oh, this isn't a $200,000 neighborhood. This is a $150,000 neighborhood. No, it's actually whatever price range people are willing to pay for it. Now, honestly, the property that sold 6 months ago doesn't really matter. So all that matters is what's available today that buyers are looking at today. It's like, if you go to a store and you're shopping for like bed sheets, you go to that store, the store doesn't have the bed sheets you want, or they don't have them in the price range you want, then well, you got two choices. Either you spend more money, um, you wait and hope something else happens, or you go to another area, you go to another store. So real estate's the same way, man. If somebody wants to live in this area or this neighborhood, and all they got to look at is what's on the market today. So if they need to move in the next 90 days because of a job, a lease in, and whatever it is, they're a motivated buyer. You know, all they got is what's available. If it's not available, hey, if a house isn't available in that school district they want their kids to go to school in, they got to compromise and either spend more money, their kids have to go to a different school. So you have to have an easy way to explain your pricing strategy and a real strategy that makes sense. I keep hearing agents talk about sold, sold, sold when they talk about pricing a house. And I mean, I've got news for you. If you're pricing based on sold, you're really doing it wrong. You need to use what I use is an active listing price strategy. And I know a lot of you listening to this, you probably never heard of it because nobody really talks about pricing strategy with clients. Most agents say, "Oh, the last one sold for this price, so that's what you got to get for it." And that's just not true. That's not the way it is. You know. So I know you guys probably know how to log onto your local MLS. You know how to pull comps on properties that have sold. If you're in a market trending upward, though, you're probably noticing that, like, calling these for sale owners, and the last one sold for 125, and they're saying, "Hey, I want 139 for mine," or you're going to need to price it 139 to cover what they're wanting and commissions and all the costs and stuff that's going to go into selling it. And you're going, "Oh man, well that's overpriced. The last one sold for 125." And you're losing listings to other agents that are pricing these properties higher than what you think it's worth. And a lot of these agents are probably getting lucky, or they're probably just pricing the house to get the listing. In a rapidly moving market, taking a listing that's 5 to 10% higher than what you think it'll sell for, honestly, it's not really a big deal. Lots of times the market's gonna, right now in 2017 at least, the market's gonna probably catch up to it. If you're in a trending downward market, you do the same thing. You price it towards constantly price towards the bottom of what's available. And if you can be in that bottom, if you're looking at an area, you're looking at a neighborhood, there's 10 listings, and you can be one of the cheapest two or three, and then you can justify how you're better than those two or three that's lower than you. Man, you got a house that's probably going to sell for what you priced it for. So, if the market's trending downwards, it's the same thing, man. If you can be in the bottom one third of that price, and you can justify why your house is better than those that are priced cheaper. Maybe it was just painted, maybe it had a new roof, maybe it's a hot water heater. You're pricing ahead of the market. You're going to be in good shape. This is a pricing strategy. It's not only going to get a house sold, but it's going to be a lot easier to explain to a seller. The way you price ahead of the market is you price based on the actives, not the solds. You want to price based on what the listing is actually competing against in today's market. Like I said, buyers that are looking today can only look at homes for sale and can only compare them to homes that are on the market today, they may want to look at that. They may be interested in, that house down the street that sold for, $20,000 cheaper 6 months ago. But hey, that house was gone. They either need to should have bought 6 months ago is really what it amounts to. And it's sad. Some buyers, man, they save up money, they work with a credit, they just get priced out of a neighborhood. But most agents, they're pricing their homes with solds, and they're usually underpricing their listings. Pricing based on solds. It's almost like looking in your rearview mirror when you're driving. The house that sold 6 months ago, like I said, it doesn't matter. And in a time frame of serious buyers looking to buy a house, that house probably isn't going to be available again. And if it does come back on the market, it's going to be at a higher price. So what you do is you take the home, you pull actual active listings that are truly comparable to the house from inside the community or a radius around the home. So if the home is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage, you need to look up homes that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage. You need to look up active comparables. Custom homes is a little more difficult, but most of the time in a custom home community, all the homes are going to be similar. Yeah, this one might be a little nicer than this one, or it might be a little bigger, but typically, they're going to be somewhat similar because of architectural review boards and stuff like that. But you got to compare the home's real features. Usually, unless the home's something special, I want to be priced in the lowest comparables in the area. Usually, if there's 10 homes in the area, I want to be in the lowest 3 or 4. And I want to be able to pick out the reasons and features that make my listings better than those 3 or 4. And the reasons need to be something you can justify. Like I said before, like a new roof, a bigger home lot, more square footage, things that are actually a plus. So you want to show up to your listing appointment. You want to be very prepared. I'll often print out these comparables. I'll make notes on them so I can quickly justify why a house is better or worse than the ones I'm trying to list. The more you're prepared with comps and details about the comps, the more likely it will be that you'll get the listing. And so I always pull comps real quick before putting together my net sheet because I want everything I'm doing, you're trying to build trust here. So everything you're doing needs to support, everything you're doing with comparables needs to support the prices you have on your net sheet. Don't show it up with a net sheet saying one thing and then comps that tell a completely different story. Because what these comparables are going to do, you're going to tell them a story. They've got that problem and they believe that they can fix that problem by selling their home. So you're trying to help them with their problem. And going through these comparables and going through this active strategy is setting the stage for you to basically help justify how you're going to get them the price they need to fix the problems they need to fix. So make sure your comparables and your net sheet tell the same story. Hey, so that's all for this active pricing strategy. If you have any questions, ask them in my group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work, or ask them in the comments on YouTube. And like I've been telling you guys, if you don't have a solid source for sale by owners, RedX offers some special deals to my group. You can also buy my book off Amazon, 53 strategies to get more out of listings. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot more videos and audio stuff posted there here in the next few days. And thanks, guys. Have a great day.